Another tragedy, right? Mass shooter. Let's go to the video.
8 people are dead, 7 more wounded after a gunman opened fire into a crowd at an outlet mall in Allen, Texas. That's just north of Dallas. And a warning, some of what you're about to see is disturbing. Witness dash cam capturing the moment the gunman got out of his car and then immediately began firing, ambushing unsuspecting people walking by. We're pausing this video before the shooting actually begins, but other witnesses were recording as the attack unfolded. You hear multiple rapid gunshots, you see people running for their lives, and a photo obtained by CNN appears to show the gunman after he was shot by a responding officer, and you can see an AR-15 style rifle nearby. He is clad in black body armor and appears to have several extra magazines strapped to his chest.
Here we go again. Let's put up the pictures full mass. Let's be very clear. This country has a problem with gun culture. It also has a problem with inaction. I will get into that in a moment. The suspect has now been identified as 35-year-old M. Martinez, who lived in Dallas, Texas with his mother. The motivation for the attack, according to multiple reports, has been connected to right-wing extremism. According to local law enforcement, Martinez wore a patch on his chest that read RWDS, which police claims it means right-wing death squad. Officials are still investigating his ties to these radical beliefs. There's more. The gunman opened fire at the Allen Premium Outlets in Texas on Saturday afternoon. Allen Police Chief Brian Harvey said at a media briefing. An officer with the department was at the outlet mall on an unrelated call when he heard gunshots at about 3:36 p.m. Shortly before he engaged the suspect and neutralized the threat. NBC News explained in greater detail, suspected Allen, Texas mall shooter Garcia interacted with neo-Nazi and white supremacist content online, according to 2 senior law enforcement officials. A 2021 report in the Daily Beast reported that men associated with RWDS were plotting to attack the Democratic National Committee employees with explosives. Rhetoric in the private chat messages was consistent with the racially motivated extremism ideology, to include aspirational violence against religious and racial minorities, the affidavit said at that time. Let's put him up. When posed the question, all right, asked about his reaction to the shooting and what next steps should we take, Texas State Republican Keith Self, a Republican out of Allen, said, well, those are people who don't believe in an almighty God who is absolutely in control of our lives, adding, I know people want to make this political, but prayers are important, and they're powerful in the families who are devastated right now. Keep his picture up. You should be a damn shame of yourself, sir. I looked at your record. So while you're saying that people should pray when there are dead bodies in the street, you didn't say that when it came to voter integrity or voter election laws. You agreed that the elections needed to be restricted, basically, and you knew the information you were receiving was false. However, it did not stop you from acting in your legislative capacity. Here's what's ironic, dear sir. While you tell people who are grieving the death of their loved ones to pray, why did you not tell people who were complaining about the ballot to simply pray? Why did you not tell individuals who are concerned about a woman's right to choose to simply pray? You see, you engage in legislative behavior because those are things you care about. But for things you don't care about, you put it on God and act as if you do. You see, I know your game. You may have others fooled, but not me. I'm from Glenwood Road. There's more. Let's put her up. And Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who continually makes her pro-gun stance known, chimed in on Saturday, placing blame on mental illness, drugs, and evil forces. for the mall massacre. Once again, no policy conversation whatsoever. Isn't it ironic? No one is asking, well, could we have done something to stop this individual from receiving this gun? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you believe it is connected to mental health, have you proposed a red flag, a federal red flag law that would allow a stopgap between purchase and mental health diagnosis? No. All right, David, thoughts here?
Even if one accepts, and let's just for argument's sake, let's just suppose I say, yeah, there is evil out there. And yeah, there are people with mental health issues. But let's, if you look at the last 30 years, most of the major mass shootings have involved the AR-15. If you look at what happened at Sandy Hook and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and what's happened in Allen, Texas, imagine those scenarios where, yes, somebody wants to kill a lot of people, but instead of an AR-15, an assault weapon, they have a pistol or they have a hammer. Sure, maybe they kill 1 or 2, but they don't kill 10 or 20 or 22. And that's the issue here. We can agree or disagree about whether there's evil in our midst, mental health, whether there's not enough belief in God, although I think in Japan, only 1% of the population there believes in Jesus Christ, but they have not had any mass shootings in the last 20 years. But putting all that aside, it's not we're missing the point. If you're a Republican, it's not the question of mental health. It's not a question of whether there's evil. It's how can we mitigate this? We just don't let anybody drive a bulldozer or jump into the cockpit of a commercial airliner unless they have the proper permit, unless they have the proper insurance. Why don't we do the same with guns? Why can't we say, no, you can't have an AR-15 unless you're a member of the military, unless you've been certified. You cannot have these weapons unless you have insurance. The fact that we don't do this is insanity.
Yeah, and the reality is there's no self-correction model because the federal law prohibits anyone from suing a gun manufacturer. And because of that, they are able to freely lobby organizations to completely ignore the will of the citizen.